Hello and welcome to another edition of Mailbag. What is Mailbag? Well, Mailbag is a feature of the channel where you guys leave lots of comments on the channel and I attempt to answer those comments, or if I can't answer those comments, I throw it out to you guys who have more knowledge on some of this stuff than I do. So let's get into the first mailbag of this session. Remember, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Go over to Instagram and follow me there. Go over to Facebook, follow me there. That's where the normal notices are. And consider becoming a Patreon. The next comment or question comes from Ambrose. And this was in response to a quick overview of the FB-01, a video I did in December 2015. God, getting some old videos coming through on the mailbag this week. And it's a very quick one. And I probably said something like the FB-01 was a 6 operator, and he's written back and said, no, it's a 4 operator. And of course it's a 4 operator because that's how they made it cheaper. The DX7 was a 6 operator, and the FB-01 is closest to a DX209 or a DX21, although a later chip. In fact, many people have commented, not on this particular video, but on the interweb, about the FB-01 was effectively a module of the DX21. But the fact that it was only 4 operators was why it was known as the poor man's DX7. And yes, you could not get the same sonic response as the DX7, but you could get really, really close with 4 operators. And actually, when you look through the algorithms for the DX7, there's quite a few classic sounds on the DX7 that don't use all 6 operators. Someone will probably now shout at me down the thing, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. But it's true. Not all sounds on the DX7 used all 6 operators. But as you rightly say, it is the DX21 is probably closer, but at the time of launch, the FB-01 was a significant bang for your buck. You've got a lot of FM synth for not a lot of money when you compared it to the DX7, which is kind of what you were buying the FB-01 to try and emulate. Well, that's what I bought my first FB-01 for, because I couldn't afford the DX7, but I could afford the FB-01, and I think I've now got 2 of them. Next one comes from N.A. Goulet, and it's in response to I didn't write what this was. I think this was the Amiga 500 video I did back at the beginning of 2020. And he writes, that's exactly right. The 2 companies, more or less, it was the Amiga 500. It was a comment I made on the Amiga 500 video, where I said that effectively the Commodore people went to Atari and the Atari people went to Commodore. Right, so that's exactly right. The 2 companies more or less flip-flopped. If you were a fan of Atari, the Amiga was the computer to buy if you wanted the absolute state-of-the-art audio-visual for a personal computer. Plus, it was like having a colour Mac before they were available. A built-in speech synthesizer and pretty much needed the best of anything in personal computers, multitasking, and a multitasking operating system as well. Fans of the Commodore 64 should have brought the Atari ST. If they loved the C64 concept, dirt cheap, lots of corners taken, etc., the Amiga 1000 was almost a spare, no expense kind of system. And even the case and keyboard were physically attractive, unlike the Amiga 500, but the A500 bought the same base technology for half the price. By that point, buying the ST made little sense for most people, and the buyers took notice, as at one point it was outselling the ST 10 to 1. I didn't realise that. I've heard all about the red glue. There is a detailed YouTube video showing how to fix it. I need to get that. The number one reason I wanted an Amiga 1000 was the incredible, for 1985, sound chip that provided sampling and true synthesis ability, unlike the C64 SID chip, which was revolutionary for the time. You know, the C64 SID chip was a mass move forward compared with what was being offered definitely in the UK market on the likes of the Spectrum and Dragon and other 8-bit computers of the time. So yeah, see, which for a home computer was good for the time, but it wasn't synthesizer quality by any means. The Amiga sound chip was the first a personal computer had to offer, limited compared to what we have today, and to 16-bit sampling sets that came out later. But compared with what we had in 1985 or before, it was amazing to offer the sound ability in a personal computer. The Atari ST wasn't even remotely close to being able to do that. You had to actually buy expensive synthesizers if you wanted them, not with an Amiga. Exactly why I bought it, among other reasons, I wished more people saw the light and did it with its software synthesizer ability. I took notice of this before the Amiga was even out. Immediately jumped out at me. State-of-the-art personal computer, state-of-the-art video gaming system, real synthesizer sampling ability, 3-in-1 combo, which is what I thought. The Win UAE Amiga emulator is very good. Now, funny enough, Retro Man Cave has also recommended that. Check it out. I'm running it off an RGB CRT monitor, essentially to me for any games. I've run the Sonex music program on it and it ran great. Haven't tried MIDI with it. I still have one Amiga 1000 monitor left and my original MIDI interface. I haven't run MIDI on it for years or decades even. Totally converted now to PCs. The Amiga was light years ahead in the mid 80s, but now PCs are light years ahead of the Amiga. I'm not switching back. For the 80s, it certainly was the best machine on the market. Now you see, I've said before on the channel, I jumped the Amiga and Atari ST purely because of where it was. I didn't have the money in the 80s, I wasn't working, I was still at school. But that's great info on the platform. Thank you very much.